Hello, fellow writers. I'm Lewis. That over there is Tolkien, and you have found the Scripturian Society. Woohoo! Ash is
Welcome,
excited. She's
everybody.
dancing.
Congratulations. You found the Scripturian Society.
Ash, aka Tolkien. That's who that is.
Yep. And that over there is Karissa, aka Lewis.
Yeah.
We're here to party/write with you. Actually, just write because we're both introverts and we don't want to go to your party, but thank you for the invitation.
Exactly.
Actually, we're all writers. Everyone's like, what invitation?
They're like, parties? No.
Oh, thank
People
you.
are already like clicking off. They're like, this is not the podcast.
They're like,
for
absolutely
me.
not. This is too much energy. This is too much vivacity, too much extroverted energy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can fake being an extrovert really well when I have to. Like,
Yeah.
Did you go to that author reading that I was at, like at GCU? Were you there for that?
Yes. Yes.
I felt like I really, really extroverted myself. And I think I came across as an extrovert.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so good at faking things, apparently.
Yep. I think I can convince people I'm an extrovert for about an hour, and then I deflate and I'm like, guys, get me out of here. I was just telling Ash that my mom has a friend from college, and they kind of want to set me up with her friend's son.
I'm so excited. This is the first time she's been like, and potentially, yes, that sounds like fun to any boy, but the fictional Liam Stewart from The Darkest Minds.
I'm open to it. I know I'm not going to find Liam Stewart, but like,
it's good that you've come to that realization now, years later.
People can have Liam Stewart energy without being Liam Stewart. That's the conclusion I've come to. So that's what I'm looking for.
That's true. I am so glad that you've reached that conclusion.
The only real stumbling block is apparently that he is very shy. And so in all of these conversations, I'm always like, good Lord, would I be the extrovert in this relationship if it happened?
Oh my God.
I don't know what that would be like.
I love that for you.
Shy doesn't necessarily mean introvert. Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know if it means shy with girls or with everyone. Because I have never met him. So
interesting. I don't know,
keep
man.
you updated if anything ever happens.
I am so excited about that.
Wouldn't it be really funny if we got married and then he listened to this episode?
That would be so cute. Oh my God, I would love that so much.
Anyway, that's my story.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. That's an excellent story. We were just talking about like good first dates and stuff. I think a good first date is movie and arcade because not movie and arcade, dinner and arcade, because you need to eat food. And also then you have that conversation because like, even if it's uncomfortable, like you need to converse with the person you're on a date with. That's the whole freaking point. So dinner, but then you go do something else. And it's not like a movie where you go sit in silence in the dark side by side. It's arcade. So you get to like have fun, distracting games to play in between conversation. Right. Or you could do the very classic first date of mini golf.
Mm-hmm. But Ash doesn't like mini golf.
I don't dislike mini golf. It's a little bit boring, honestly. Like I would like to go to play mini golf with someone I already know, you know, so I can like, I also act a total fool when I go play mini golf. Like the last time when we went to Florida with friends, we went to play mini golf. I was there for my mermaid retreat, if you follow that pretentious book club. But I had like a day before I had to get to the retreat. And so we were like, what should we do? And they were like, let's go play mini golf. And I was like, I'm going to ruin this night. I'm going to make it my personal goal to ruin this night for everybody.
Oh, no.
So I was just like, Hobby's like, okay, just tap it into the hole. Just really close, just tap it. And I like full swing.
Get onto like the next course. You're like, woo.
Oh yeah. I multiple times almost lost my ball in the water, but Hobby like miraculously stopped it.
Nice.
He was just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, making it fun.
I will say I do like mini golf partially because of I don't know what it's called, the sets or the courses or whatever. They're just fun to look at.
I agree.
And usually there is some kind of an arcade attached to mini golf.
That's true.
You can do both.
There you go. You could do both. Exactly.
Yep.
I think it's a very stereotypical first date choice. Aside from, dinner and a movie is the most stereotypical first date. But then mini golf is another very stereotypical first date. I guess it's not a bad one. I have just always been like, golf is a good walk ruined. That's what Mark Twain taught us. Mini golf is not the same. The golf course that I was walking everything was themed like a pirate ship, which was pretty awesome. It was pretty badass. I'll be honest.
That was awesome.
But man, you know what? Maybe I love mini golf is the truth of it. Maybe I love to go cause absolute chaos.
You know, Ash, that is very in line with your personality. It would not surprise me if that was true. I absolutely believe that.
Thing is, everyone gets annoyed with me when we go to play mini golf. So maybe that's what it is really. I'm just like, people are like, Ash, stop. So I hear mini golf, and to me it just sounds like, Ash, stop it. And I'm like, I don't want to stop it.
I want to do the thing.
I'm going to do the thing. It's going to be fun. I'm going to swing as hard as I can, even though I know it's 3 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fun. I was also saying to Ash, just, you know, on the Scripturian Society dating advice for today.
Yeah.
I was saying that women apparently bond through conversations and men bond through experiences, shared experiences.
So much sense.
If you do dinner and something like mini golf, arcade, whatever, then you both get the chance to start to bond.
Yep.
So I mean, I think that's a great plan.
I think so. Javi and my first date was dinner and then arcade. It was super fun. And I think our second date was we watched a movie at my place, or that was third date, and second date was we went on like a hike through these caverns nearby because he's a geologist. Yeah. So he was like, I know some stuff. And then he ended up acting like a total idiot the whole time. And I was like, excellent. And then I slipped in the mud and fell when we were on our way out of the cave. So it was like,
perfect match.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a good time. And that was when he said, I believe it was the third day when he said, I'm going to marry you. And I was like, interesting. He's either very, very romantic, and this is going to be a moment I look back on fondly, or this is going to be the moment I tell the police about after they find this man naked in my closet waiting with a knife.
Wow. That was a very vivid horror moment there that you just created.
It was. Yeah. Thank you. I'm talented like that. But I ended up marrying him. So
yeah, it all worked out fine.
All worked out.
I love that idea, like third date, I love you, and you're like, interesting take. Not where I thought you would go with that.
No, exactly. And he was also like, yeah, I've been dating all these girls. I'm casual. And then he was like, I love you. And I was like, I am confused.
Yeah. Were you lying before? Was that an attempt to make yourself look cool, or am I just that good?
I think I'm just that good.
Obviously.
It was the arcade.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Weird thing. Whenever I say the word obviously, I feel like I slur it just enough that it sounds like I'm saying obviously, like Javi's name, obviously.
Obviously.
So like, obviously.
Oh, I'm going to start doing that. It's going to so bug him.
Please do.
Thank you. Thank you for that ammunition. Obviously.
Obviously. It's just subtle enough that he might not notice it first, but it's there.
But then he's going to be like, wait, are you saying obviously? And I'm gonna be like, yeah. And he's gonna be like, why are you doing that? So when he gets confused, he sounds so aggressive, and it is like the joy of my life. It is so funny to me that when he's confused, he sounds angry.
Like, nice.
Oh, it's so funny. Why are you doing that? Why do you have a problem with me doing it?
Are you upset?
No, I just don't understand why you're doing it. And I'm like, you don't have to. It's the same part of me that's like, and full swing at the mini golf course. I like to talk to the statues too. We were there at the mini golf course that was pirate themed. I was like talking to the pirate statues, and there was like a little sign that had like some fun fact about Blackbeard at every hole. And I was like, time to read this in my worst Scottish accent for no reason at all, and as loudly as I can.
Love it. How have we never been mini golfing together? Because I would enjoy it.
I think you would enjoy it. It takes a very special kind of person to enjoy me playing mini golf.
This is me with board games. This is me with mini golf. I am not a competitive person.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on who I'm playing with. If I feel like I can win, I will become competitive. I'm like, I am the best loser at this table. Like, I can do this. But if I feel like anyone else has the potential to win, I'm like, who cares? So if we're going mini golfing with people that are good at mini golf, I would love it. If we're doing it with people that are bad at it, I'd be like, Ash, shut up. I am going to dominate.
See, I think my whole approach is, and I do get this energy, this chaos energy a lot of times when I'm playing games, is because I'm not naturally competitive, at least not. I'm very competitive with myself. Like I will compete with past Ash all till I die. I don't know why, but I'm not really a competitive person to person. It feels like a waste of energy to me. And so since that is like the driving force for most people who enjoy games, I want to say like you play to win, right? Like, isn't that what makes it fun for a lot of people? Like the idea that you might win. And since I have literally no motivation to win, I'm like, I have to find a way to make this interesting for myself. I know just what to do. I will compete with myself to see just how chaotic I can be.
Can I up the ante on the annoyingness and
yes, exactly.
Chaos.
Exactly. I have to keep myself interested somehow. When someone asks me to play a game and I say yes, I am making a sacrifice. Because
I know.
I used to avoid games like the plague. I still will. I'm throwing a baby shower for my friend and I'm literally planning baby shower games, but I'm not going to play them. I don't like games.
You can monitor them. You're the
you have to learn so many rules. And it's the same with mini golf. And I'm like, I'm not gonna. So I'm not gonna. So no. So I'm gonna make this fun for me in another way, even if it makes it less fun for everyone else.
I mean, that's your competition. Who will have the most fun? Will it be Ash or will it be everyone else?
You know what? That is it's me versus everyone else playing the game. Everyone's like, that's what games are, dummy.
Yeah,
but it's a different thing. Okay,
it's a different game.
And I don't have to learn anyone else's rules. Part of it is, I think it started as a kid because I have a very bad memory. So somebody would explain the rules of a game and I would immediately forget them and be like, I have no idea how to play this. And that is like legitimate. That was before I had a thing against games, is I just could not remember the rules to save my life. So it's developed into a distaste for rules bordering on hatred and a true love for chaos. Because it means no rules.
Are you in D&D, are you chaotic neutral or chaotic good or something?
I'm chaotic good.
I think I'm neutral good. I think that's what I've come to the conclusion about. But I don't know the system well enough to say that positively.
I think you wouldn't be chaotic. You wouldn't be neutral good. You'd be I don't think. What is it? Oh, that's gonna bug me.
I don't even know the system.
Hang on, I'm gonna look at the system because it's gonna bug me. I can't believe it's been
brought it up, but
I haven't played D&D in like a year now, which it's been a while, man.
I played one game once and we didn't even finish.
So you can be the alignment system. It's what your alignment is.
Woo-hoo.
See, I don't think you'd be chaotic neutral. Lawful neutral, is that what you mean?
I don't think so. I don't think, because whatever the one, I think I looked it up where I don't care about the law, but I care about following rules or something like that, where I will follow the rules if they make sense, but if they're immoral, I won't follow them.
So lawful good. Chaotic good.
No, is that chaotic good?
I think that might be chaotic good if you're saying that you don't care about the rules.
Right.
But you'll do what you think is right.
If I don't like a rule, but it seems like who really cares about it, I will follow it. Whereas I think you are like, I will break the rules for the sake of breaking the rules.
I think I come across, see, that part of me comes across very chaotic neutral because it seems like I don't care who gets hurt in the process and I'll like be chaotic for evil or good.
Right.
I'll do it for my own evil, but I won't hurt other people with it on purpose. So I think I'm probably still chaotic good. I think you're probably also chaotic good. There's just different levels.
Probably.
Yeah. Because I would have pegged you as lawful neutral or chaotic neutral because of your Catherine side.
Yeah.
But as a real person, you're good.
Yeah.
Like I know you're like your alignment is good.
I do think I would be good because I don't think I'm neutral, but I don't think I'm evil or whatever.
It's almost like I think what it is lawful. You're not lawful, but you have for yourself a very like strict set of rules. Like you have your own law. So you are in that sense,
lawful neutral where I'm in charge.
Yes,
or lawful good where I'm in charge.
That's what it is. See, you have lawful good energy, but compared to like everyone else's laws, it would actually be chaotic.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, fun.
D&D. Yeah.
Now that we've decided that, did we have anything else to say originally?
I don't think so. If this episode sounds like it's running together with the last one from last week, it's because we're recording these like about 5 minutes apart, everybody.
Yeah.
Because Ash is selfish and she's going to go on her anniversary trip for 5 days. And I'm very excited.
We're probably going to have to do it again at the end of the month because my cousin's wedding is coming up and I'll be out of town for that.
Yay. So. Easy peasy. No problem to me. I am very excited about my anniversary trip. If I haven't said it on this podcast yet, I'm going to Williamsburg, Virginia, and I'm so excited. Actually, I guess when this comes out, I will be there or on my way back. I don't remember. But we're going to go look at all the historical stuff. We're going to go to Christmas Town. We're going to go on a haunted tour, which is very exciting. Like, I'm not super into like ghosty stuff, but Hobby is. But I'm like into walking around spooky historical places at night. So that's what we get to do, like the night that we get there.
That's so awesome. I said this before, when my parents and I took road trips, like in high school and college for me, our thing was that we would try to do a ghost tour in every city. And it was so fun.
That is so cool.
The one that we did in Savannah, Georgia was hands down the best. It was so good. It was what should
I keep in mind on my ghosty tour?
I don't know. They're all so different. I think it depends on the kind of tour you want. Like, there are the tours where it's just fun to accept the possibility of ghosts, whether or not you believe in them or not, and just to be kind of looking for it everywhere. And then there are the ones that the stories are just so intense, and it's really cool to take notes on that. As a writer, I really like that part.
I think we're going to get a lot of really intense stories. Hobby was like, let's do like the really long tour. And I was like, and he's like, and also, so on top of doing the long tour, we're doing like the extended long tour. So, and it starts at like 10 p.m. or something.
Nice.
So I'm like, I will be asleep and you will be carrying me by the end. But excellent.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Have you ever seen anything spooky?
I mean, pseudo spook. Okay. So the one that comes to mind is I did a ghost tour in San Francisco when I was like 12, I think. And the story was about, there's like the series of houses, and this woman, some guy had stalked her, or it was an ex-boyfriend, and he'd stabbed her. And so she was running away trying to get home, and she had her keys out. She gets to her door and she's turning the key, but it's not working. So he catches up with her as she's turning the key and kills her. And so they had the key, and they're like, the key will turn, because that was the last motion that she did before she died. And so the tour guide like put it in his hand, and I got to hold his hand to like make sure he wasn't doing anything, and the key turned.
Oh my god.
Was it a parlor trick? Maybe, but my 12-year-old self was like, oh my gosh, ghosts are real.
This is real. Can I tell you my theory on, or my hypothesis on ghosts? Okay, so this is like totally my own hypothesis. I think like poltergeisty stuff, I think can sometimes be demons, but I don't want to talk about that stuff because it's scary.
I agree. Yes.
But I think a lot of like harmless ghost, quote unquote, ghost sightings. This is what my hypothesis is. I'm probably going to make some people angry who are like really into it. I think that when something truly, truly terrible happens that was never supposed to happen in our world and our reality, I think it can actually tear the fabric of our reality. Ooh. So then this incident kind of like echoes over and over again. So what we're seeing as like ghost sightings is just an echo of this horrible thing that literally tore the fabric of our reality. So now it's like the seams don't match. They just don't match up quite anymore.
Like the same thing is kind of repeating over and over.
Yes, exactly. And we're just getting like a glimpse of it. Or maybe it's a place where like parallel dimensions meet, like where in the other dimension it didn't happen, or a horrible thing happened here in this other dimension. And it's like, you know, right at the same spot. So that's like where, I don't know, that's like my sci-fi brain about it, but I'm like, that's really what I think. I think that makes the most sense. So
my general opinion was always, so when we were doing the ghost tours, I believed in ghosts. And then I kind of thought about it a little more, and I'm like, I think it's probably just demons, and the good ghosts, quote unquote, good ghosts are just demons trying to lull people into a false sense of security. Which is
very stressful.
Creepy. Yeah. But then I read, that book, The Caro Haunt by, Darcy Coates, during the month of October. I told you about it, but you probably forgot.
Yes, I remember the name. Like I remember the author. But
and I don't know if this is a thing in general, that people who believe in ghosts, this is a thing, or if this is just a really cool way that she found to describe it. But she said, human beings are soul, spirit, and body. So when you die, your body is gone, your soul goes wherever it's going to go, and then sometimes your spirit stays behind. And I'm like, interesting. I've never heard it talked about that way. I know ghosts are called spirits. I had never separated the idea of soul and spirit before, because I'm like, I don't think I've always say their souls on earth like that.
No,
but spirit maybe. I don't know.
That's interesting also. I could buy that. Or my broken reality theory, more so than like it's also like
the soul would be like the core of who you are, and then your spirit would be your emotions, your feelings, your experiences, and that's why they would kind of repeat So it's like that same experience is repeating without the human part.
Yes, I could buy that too. That would make sense.
Mhm.
See, some explanation like that would make more sense to me.
Right.
Yeah, interesting. I'm gonna not think too deeply about it until after the ghost tour.
Fair. That sounds fair.
Yeah.
I am super, super creeped out by Ouija boards and
oh my God.
No,
don't play
I
with
will
them,
not entertain
everybody.
that. If anyone pulled out a Ouija board, I would be like, I will leave the house, and I'm not
I would
coming
literally
back.
leave. I would literally leave. So
Yeah.
don't play with that stuff, guys. It's a bad idea.
No.
Yeah. Wow. Spooky.
So there's that.
Anyways,
We've gone through the gambit of topics
we have
to ghost stories
to D&D character alignment.
Yeah, that's right. That was also there.
Well, what's our word for this episode?
Based on this conversation, it doesn't fit as well as I would hope. I wish I had picked a word that would somehow have brought all those themes together somehow. But I do really like this word. Expergefactor.
Expergefactor?
Yeah. So EXPERGEFACTOR. And it is something that wakes you up in the morning or a catalyst for awakening. So like an alarm clock, but also maybe like that thing that makes you wake up to the truth or the reality or something.
The smell of coffee is my Expergefactor in the morning in a literal sense.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of a metaphorical sense. I don't like to be woken up to flaws in myself. So there's not been an effective enough Expergefactor.
Coffee is the Expergefactor for how addicted you are to caffeine. I don't know.
Oh my God. The headache I get when I go 24 hours without caffeine is an Expergefactor to my caffeine addiction.
There you go.
Yeah.
So word of the week, Expergefactor.
Look at us using fancy words and sentences, you guys. It's almost like this is like a writing podcast.
I'm trying to think of a way that it could be used for ghosts, like an Expergefactor for a ghost. Would that be the thing that sends them on their way or the thing that creates them? I do not know. Maybe that's just not a relevant use. Who knows?
I suppose it depends on what your definition of awakens is for a ghost.
Exactly.
I would say we would typically in conversation say like something awakened the ghost, and then I saw like the ghosty thing happen. So it could be like when somebody,
so like you say a word, that's the Expergefactor for the ghost.
Yeah. I hope we don't have a tour guide who's like, let's taunt ghosts, because that stresses the hell out of me in videos. I'm like, what are you doing?
Okay, so if you've never been on a ghost tour, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll come to a certain room and it'll be small enough, and if the group is small enough, they'll close the door and turn the lights out and say sometimes if we sit here long enough something will happen. And I'm always just standing there like, gosh, I hope something happens, and then simultaneously, please don't let anything happen.
I'm gonna literally, this whole tour is gonna be me being like, I really hope I don't see anything. I just wanted like a late night tour of the historical stuff.
I do think if I was gonna see something, I would want it to be, because they let you take a lot of pictures. So if you take a picture and then later you see like, oh no, it's a ghost, I'd
be more okay with that, and then I would never ever go on a ghost tour again.
Exactly.
This is my first ghost tour. I don't even know if Hobby's been on a ghost tour, but he like watches all like the paranormal sighting videos and stuff. And he's way more spooked by all that stuff than I am. Like, but he still like watches the videos and he's like, yes, we'll go on the really long ghost tour. And I'm like, dude,
like, okay,
this is masochism. And I'm being dragged along.
There you go. That's what wives are for.
Yeah. Anyways, do you have any extra book recommendations? Since we just did the last episode, I'm kind of out of book recs.
I read this really great book called The Darkest Minds.
Oh my God. Every episode from now on.
Yeah. Who cares what I've read recently? Always The Darkest Minds.
The Darkest Minds. Darkest Minds is good. Yeah, that's a good one. We are currently reading The Hobbit for the next TPPC episode that we're recording. It actually comes out before the one I talked about last episode. God, the order of all these episodes coming out between both podcasts is so confusing. But I think my brother is going to join us for that on That Pretentious Book Club. So we're going to talk about The Hobbit. And let me tell you, I'm having a hard time getting through it, just as much of a hard time as I had the first time.
I do think they are harder to get through. I think Tolkien's style is just very hit or miss.
My namesake,
because of all the detail.
Yeah. Although I'm thinking that this time I'm listening to the audiobook and I really wish that I had the time to read it because I'm multitasking, but I'm actually enjoying it more now than even like the last time that I read it. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm like you have to really know what to expect from Tolkien to enjoy the book. And I think now I know enough of what to expect from him that I could actually read the book and like really enjoy it. But I don't have time to read it. I have to listen to the audiobook.
Yeah.
God, I'm so busy and important. I'm just kidding.
I like how you turn that into and important.
I'm so busy and relatively unimportant, but it'll make me feel better if I say it's because I'm doing important things.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's the theme of this episode?
All right. You would think the theme is ghosts, but it is not. That was a red herring.
We listened to last episode.
Throw back to our last episode.
Yeah.
We are talking about love triangles. And all things love triangle. So just to be real upfront, so a love triangle obviously is where you have a main character and there are two love interests. It's usually one girl with two boys. We can talk about that.
Bella, Edward, and Jacob, probably the most iconic of this time period.
Yep. And just real quick up front, I am not a fan of the love triangle. So it takes a very specific way to
I don't want to be a fan of the love triangle,
but you are.
But I am.
See, here's why I don't like them. They add too much stress on a story if it's not about romance. So if there was just a contemporary story about a love triangle, I'd probably enjoy it. But when it's about a fantasy or a dystopia, I'm like, I want to care about the world and what's going on plot wise. And the love triangle just adds so much stress, especially because I'm a person of extremes. I am all or nothing. If once I pick the guy, I am all in for that guy. And if he doesn't win, I am upset.
It's true. That is very true with you. That's just like a personality thing. You're very hardcore. It's that it's like it's your Carissa's lawful. You're like, in my laws, you pick the one guy and that's your guy till the end of the series.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it always feels, I don't know. It's just, it distracts me from everything else that's going on. That is my one complaint about Hunger Games. I love the Hunger Games, but my one complaint is the love triangle. First of all, because I don't think Gale really needed to be a love interest.
I kind of agree. And he
could have been a
Kendall
friend.
will literally kill me that I'm commenting on it because I haven't finished the series. But in the first book, I do remember thinking, I don't really feel like Gale serves that much of a purpose.
And he doesn't really in the first book. And then as we go on, I'm just like, I feel like he would have been a better character if his role had been as a best friend.
Yeah.
And not romantic at all.
Yeah.
Like a Ruby Chubbs thing. You know,
so
and
cute.
I just the dynamic of like maybe Gale and Peeta being friends, and the dynamic of, you know, maybe Peeta, you know, gets jealous, but then she gets to be like, no, I don't like him that way. I just feel like that would be better for the story that is being told.
You like the found family vibe, and that found family vibe does not typically coincide with a love triangle.
No, it does not. There's too much competition, and unless you have something Will, Jem, Tessa-esque, there's it's too competitive, and they don't.
It's true.
Whoever you don't pick can't stay in your life after that. It would be like having an ex-boyfriend as your best friend, and that's weird.
That is super weird.
So it destroys the dynamic in a lot of ways. So anyway, that's why I don't like love triangles. I do think they can be done well. And I don't want to talk too much up front. So Ash, what do you have to say about love triangles?
I think, you made a good point right off the bat, which is that it is hard to do love triangles in books that are not overtly romances. Like Tiger's Curse series. I think one of the best series long examples. I mean, in the first book, you just get like a little hint of the love triangle, but then it's like the crux of like the next, like however many books. And it plays directly into the plot because it's not a fantasy. It's a romantic fantasy. So it's like, even like it has to like do with like the overall like prophecy that, you know, surrounds Kelsey, the main character. So in that one, I don't have a problem with it because it's a romantic fantasy. So it's going to be in there. But then I have also seen it done less often in books that are not overtly romantic books, like done well. But Sentinels of New Orleans, I don't know if anyone's read that book.
Yeah, you made me read, what is it, 4? But there are more that I haven't read. I think I read 4.
Did you like them? I can't remember. I didn't know I made you read them.
I remember very vividly taking the third one to the bank with Lexi because she asked me to go to the bank with her. And I was like, great, I'll read in the car.
That's hilarious.
I took her to the bank.
God, college running errands with friends just because they want someone to go with them is such a fun thing. And you always bring a book. But the Sentinel of New Orleans is delightful because
I was thinking about
what
real fast.
Go for it.
Do you think that qualifies as new adult instead of young adult?
Yes.
Yeah, because I remember thinking it was going to be young adult, and I was like, this is young adult, but with older people, which is just new adult.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly. But it was like right on the cusp of the official existence of new adult, because until recently, if you're new to like the writing publishing scene, new adult was not a recognized genre really until the last few years.
And
so,
neither was young adults up until what, early 2000s, maybe even 2010.
And then they were like, hang on, 16-year-olds want books that are specifically for them to read. And then they were like, hang on, people
like,
in their
they
20s
want something
and early 30s
older than
want
Harry
something?
Potter, but younger than this.
And they were like, I don't know what to do with this. It always existed. They were just like, they used to call it children's fiction, which is kind of hysterical because
they still do in the way that agents and publishers are classified, but it's so different than picture books, but it's in the same category.
If you get into the publishing world in the sense that you're trying to like query, you have to like really learn the language about it, which is children's fiction. Like if an agent says that they represent children's fiction, they could just mean children's books, or they could mean children's books in middle grade, or they could mean children's books, middle grade, and young adult. And young adult could also incorporate new adult if they don't have a specific, like if they haven't like set that apart specifically. So
they usually do tell you what they mean by children's literature, but for me, because I do really love young adult, and I just like the idea of writing for teenagers specifically. It was a hump to get over the idea that I have to classify myself as a children's author.
Yeah.
It's weird to think of it that way, but you are, because they're minors.
It's true. It's true. Really, the key is to go read an agent's profile and like go check them out on their social media to figure out what they specifically mean, because they'll usually clarify it there because they're up with the lingo. It's their websites that aren't updated with the lingo.
It's true.
But yeah, so yeah, Sentinels of New Orleans is a new adult series. I literally look at the damn series like once a week and I'm like, I want to reread you so badly, but I don't have time. But it is such a fun series.
Do it for the podcast.
I want to do it first. I want to do it for season 3 of TPPC. So we'll see if I get the chance. It's such a good series. But the love triangle in that, there ends up being like a kind of a few different love triangles.
I was going to say, I can't even remember the specific love triangle.
Listen, there's a roguish ghost pirate. Hey, look, I brought in
That's
ghosts.
right.
And oh my God, I want the roguish ghost pirate to win. Oh my God.
See, okay, this is also why I have trouble with love triangles sometimes, because people like Ash, and I think the majority of people always go for the bad boy, and I'm always like, but Liam Stewart-esque. Well, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I can see why you weren't super into the Sentinels of New Orleans romance, is also because here's also why I love it, is most of the boys are bad boys.
They are.
Most of them are. They're
even
just like
the quote unquote good guy. He's still a bad boy.
Edgy. They're still all edgy. Exactly. And they all have their own motives and stuff. And that one is one of I bring it up as an alternative to Tiger's Curse, which is a romantic fantasy. So you expect it. Yeah. Sentinels of New Orleans is not overtly a romance. No. But I really like the way the love triangles are all tied in. And there are multiple love triangles because in every book there's like a new character that gets involved. So it gets more romantic as the series goes on because the character is developing more romantic feelings for, the other characters. Right. But from the beginning, there is the romance subplot is pretty strong and it stays consistent. And then it gets a little bit heavier towards the end. And then it dips off a little bit. But it was important from the beginning. So I think you can get away with it if it's important from the beginning. Right. Yeah. So that's the thing with if you're not writing a romance fill in the blank genre book and you want there to be a love triangle or any other like really overt romance plot, you need to make it prominent from the beginning so it doesn't feel like someone who didn't want to read a romance novel is getting tricked into reading a romance novel.
Yeah. I think the exception to this, and I don't know if it's an exception, is if you're writing a middle grade series like Percy Jackson or Harry Potter and they grow into it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. You can do a lot with characters that grow into it. Which is, similar to Sentinels of New Orleans is, they do start out as new adults, but the relationships and the love triangles get way more there's way more prominent throughout because she's like developing an actual relationship, especially with one of them in particular. So they actually start dating and stuff. So you're like, yeah, now this is a part of her daily world, whereas originally it wasn't. So yeah. God, I love a good love triangle.
I don't, but I love that you love it.
I do. I'm trying to think of some of my favorites. You would think for somebody who enjoys, I don't want to love triangles, but there's just
There's nothing
something
wrong with
about
it.
them.
It's
I like
here's
to
my
take a
thing.
side.
I know, I don't. I think my main issue with them is I don't think they're always done very well. And I
That
do
is
think
true.
if you take Infernal Devices, I mentioned, I think once the Inheritance games, I think these are still good examples of love triangles done well. And I think the key to it is that both guys have to have an equal chance.
Yes.
It can't be this person is obviously who they're going to pick, but here's a guy who's hot that might distract her for a while.
Exactly.
That's not the same.
That's super true.
That's always how Twilight kind of felt to me. Like, was Jacob ever going to win?
No. That makes me so sad because I was team Jacob also, but I knew he was never going to win. Yeah. That is the thing for a truly compelling one. And that's what was wild about Sentinels of New Orleans, especially if you read the whole series. Oh my God, you never knew who was going to win. You were like, there are so many excellent options. And then the person that won at the end, like in the relationship sense, I so did not predict it at all. Ooh, I was like, what is happening? And it was still really good because all of them were good in different ways. So I couldn't even be angry at the ending. I was like, okay, it wasn't who I was rooting for, but these were all objectively had their own strengths. Like they were all really equal competitors for, the winner of the love triangle.
I've been seeing a lot on TikTok about love triangles lately. So these are two things I've gleaned. One is the idea that the love triangle both of them have to have an equal chance. You can't, make it really obvious who they're going to pick. Otherwise, it's just, I think that's why they tend to be stressful. Because it's not a competition. It's just someone who feels like they're cheating on the person they actually want to be with. And that really stresses me out.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other one is Ash, it's happening to me again. I already lost my train of thought.
Oh my God, no.
This happened to me right before this episode where I said two things and it took me 10 seconds to get through the first one. And I still forgot it. What else do I think about love triangles?
I totally understand. This happens to me all the time.
You need to... I remember. To do a good love triangle, each of the boys should be representative of some kind of other factor of the plot. So like if the character is fighting between her good side and her dark side, then each of the boys needs to represent that. If she's fighting between family loyalty and friends, each one has to be representative of that.
I agree.
And that's where you make a legitimate choice viable, where you truly don't know what she's going to pick, because those are things that conflict in your everyday life and where there's not necessarily a right or wrong choice. It's just, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be with? Can, relate to who you are as a person and what you want out of life. And so if you can make those two options represent like different paths that she could take, then that's when I think they're done well. And I kind of think that's what happened in the Inheritance games and the Infernal Devices. Is that they were very different, but they were both very good options. I don't know if there was a wrong option.
That was same like Sentinels of New Orleans was either. There was like 3 or 4 guys throughout the whole series that she could have had a relationship with. And they all presented really interesting, viable futures together, but totally different, but all interesting and good. The thing that this became a big problem for me later and later in the Tiger's Curse series by Colleen Hook. Still one of my favorites because it's just like a fun read, but it's kind of more feels like at this point kind of fluffy, like a fluff fiction read. It's not the Indian mythology and the action plot. Excellent, but the romance part sometimes feels kind of fluffy. Because you get to the point where you're like, these characters, the males are almost identical and they're brothers and they're hot in like almost the exact same ways. And the future that she would have with either of them would be almost identical. So you're like,
oh no, how do I choose?
So it's hard too, because then you're reading and you're like, the thing is, people who like love triangles want to pick a side for the most part. Like you want to get to root for someone. Even if you change your mind, then you root for someone else. You want to root for someone. You almost can't decide who you're going to root for in that love triangle, because you're like, they're basically the same. Like I want to be like, I'll root for the bad boy. And then you're like, hang on, neither one's the bad boy. Wait, now they're both bad boys. Wait, now they're both good again. And you're like, okay, I don't know. I don't know what's happening.
Confused.
You're like, at this point, I'm intrigued by the like 70-year-old creepy villain guy. And you're like, this is unfortunate.
Like,
I don't know who I was supposed to like. Nope.
This is not a Darkling type thing. I was definitely not supposed to go for that guy.
The Darkling. See, that's my favorite love triangle, where it's not a legitimate love triangle because we know she's not going to be with the villain, the out and out villain, but you're like, but she's still kind of torn between the villain and the guy that you know she should end up with. And that is why
it works, because it's Maul and the Darkling are two very different futures.
Yes,
and
they are.
So they feel like different choices.
You could see a future with both, even if you're like, okay, I know the Darkling is the villain. He's literally called the Darkling, but you're like, but still, she could have a very interesting and legitimate future with him. And because he's not a one-dimensional villain, you're not like, he's just evil and that's his whole personality. You can see who he was before he became this kind of twisted version. So you're like, what will happen? Will he regress? Will he progress? Like, you know, it's just, God, I could talk Shadow and Bone character dynamics forever.
Hours.
But that's like, I don't even know if that technically counts as a love triangle.
I think it does. I think Shadow and Bone is the two love triangles. I do think Maul and Nikolai.
Nikolai. And that's such a little gentle baby love triangle.
Yeah. So here's my thing also with love triangle. I have a lot of things around love triangles. 90% of the time, 98% of the time, I go for whoever was first, because I have intense loyalty to whoever I met first.
I can see that.
Yep. So my loyalty was with Maul the whole time because he was first. My loyalty was with Will in Infernal Devices because he's who we met first. My loyalty is always with the first one. And
interesting.
For a while, that meant I always won. And now it's not true anymore. No. And so that's partially also why they really stress me out. Because I don't know how to predict it.
You will not predict it, but it's still so good. And I was going to be so angry. I mean, like, listen, spoilers. I knew the ghost pirate wasn't going to win. Like, he's a ghost. He's a ghost. But I was also like, what if he just live in the in-between world on his cool pirate island with him?
Yep.
Then I was like, you have no future.
Literally, he can't age. He's dead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she would have kind of a future, but it'd be kind of boring. Whereas with these other characters, she would have a more dynamic future. But I just personally found him so interesting. Oh, God. The roguish ghost pirate. I'm going to cry for him. It's fine. I forgot where I was going with that.
So many good options. No, that's not where we were.
No, I don't know. It's okay.
My memory is not on point tonight.
Welcome to my world. This is how I feel.
Is this what it's like for you all the time? This sucks.
Yes, all the time. It does suck, doesn't it?
I had a separate point to go into, but I want to make sure we cover everything you wanted to say about love triangles. Did you have any other good examples, or?
I'm sure it'll come to me. Don't worry. I'll interrupt you again. Don't worry.
Okay. We'll go back and forth.
Okay. Go for
Buckle your seatbelts. This is not going to be a smooth ride.
This is going to be a bumpy ride, everybody.
It's going to be a bumpy ride. I love that part of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Do you know what I'm talking about?
When they go down into the vault?
No, when they're on the bus and the shrunken head is talking. I used to mimic him all the time.
That's such a specific moment to mimic.
It is.
But you're totally right. Yes, I do remember that moment.
Okay, so anyway, this is my thing about love triangles. You know, this is my fifth thing about love triangles. I just wish there's so many of them. And for a while they were formulaic in the sense that there would be good boy first introduced, which is where I would go, and then bad boy second introduced, who would never win,
which is where Ash would go.
Yeah.
And then be upset.
Exactly. Then they got a little more dynamic where they're like, well, maybe the bad boy will win a couple times, or maybe they'll both be bad in different ways. I would like to see more mixing up. I want to see a gender swap. I want to see a boy in a love triangle with two girls. That's what I want. I don't want it to always be the girl with two boys, because
I agree.
I do think there's probably an inherent, boys are still probably most of the time the initiators of relationships. And so it feels more natural to have two boys going after the same girls and the other way around. But I don't think that's always how it would have to work. And I think it would be more interesting.
There are more women than men in this world, I'm pretty sure. I know in the US for sure, but I'm pretty sure in general.
So I just think it'd be interesting to see that switched up. Just because I'm kind of bored of normal love triangles. I mean, to be fair, am I bored of them, or do I just not think they're done well most of the time?
I think you just don't think they're done well most of them. And I agree. I think they're not either. The thing is that I will still enjoy the occasional one that's not done well, not nearly as much as I'll enjoy the ones that are done well, because that I will live and die by.
Yeah.
But like the Tiger's Curse books, I don't think that love triangle is particularly done well, but because it's like literally a part of like the prophecy of the plot and the action is fun, I'm like, I don't care. The rest of the book is good enough that I'm like, I will just gloss over the fact that this love triangle is very one-dimensional because the rest of the book is good. Just ignore that facet and just move on. Although since I've read other much better love triangles, it has become less and less enjoyable.
Yeah. You're like, oh boy.
My standards are going up. Oh no.
Ah.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I just think doing them differently could be great, but also just doing them well, even in the original form, would be great. And I think you have to make sure that they have an equal chance. I think you have to make sure. I also think this kind of harkens back to our romantic subplot episode. Both of them need to have a role outside of just being in the love triangle.
Yes.
Because if one of them is there for the plot and one of them is only there for the love triangle, then you want the guy with the plot to win because he's the useful one.
Yeah, exactly. It's super true.
And I just think they need to have a purpose outside of that. That's true of every romantic subplot. But
yeah,
in love triangles, it does feel sometimes like
it can be one-sided.
Like with Peeta and Gale. Peeta just felt so much more useful because he was in the Hunger Games.
Exactly. Well, that's what all the guys in the Sentinels of New Orleans, and I think there's like 4 or 5 throughout the whole series. I think I've said that before, but they all have a very important part to play in the plot, and they're all reoccurring. So all that's important. But none of them are like more prominent than the other, except for the one that you think is going to win. But that's because you expect that he's going to win. And so you're kind of set up for that the whole time. It was excellently done, but makes me angry. But yeah, I think that that's probably the one aspect of love triangles that the book I was talking that I'm writing, or that I've written and queried some, I talked about the last episode, the same book is the one that I've written that has a love triangle in it.
Right.
And I think I could definitely put them on more equal footing. The problem is I know which one I like as the author more. So I think that's where, as an author, you need to write if you're going to write a love triangle, you need to write 2 characters that you would have a hard time picking between.
Like, you can't let the readers know that you can't let the readers have a clear side.
Even if you've outlined it in your head, or you know who she's gonna or he's gonna end up with, you need to try, when you're writing it, you need to try and think that you don't. Like, you need to try and put yourself in the shoes of someone who does not know who's gonna win. See, both of my characters have a very prominent role in the plot, which I think is great.
I think that's the most important factor, because I can forgive a badly done love triangle if that's true, but I can't forgive it if it's really bad. Anyway,
exactly. And I think I've got that balance down where like they represent like 2 different worlds that she's in conflict between these 2 facets of herself. She's trying to decide which to accept. So I think I've got that down, but I don't think I have that they're both as likable. Like, listen, even if one is a villain, they have to both be equally likable. And I'm not great at writing anyone who's likable, because I think it's fun to write people who aren't very likable. I think as a person, I take a little bit of a joy in not coming across as a likable person sometimes. If I don't want somebody to speak to me, I will act like an actual real life lunatic, because I don't want to be spoken to sometimes.
Yeah. I wish I could do that, but I'm too incapable of, being a lunatic in public. I am a lunatic, but it's definitely a private thing. But you keep it
so on the inside. All of our pictures in public of you and I are like me, like splayed out across your body, and you're just like sitting there with like literally your hands in your lap, like a neutral expression. You're like, absolutely I would never, I'm nothing like this psycho. I would not behave in such a way.
I am totally normal. I promise.
And I'm like,
false advertising.
I'm like, if you get too close, I will bite you.
Yeah.
I do bite. I actually do bite.
There you go.
I bite Hobby. He's like, why are you biting me? Not hard, but it's just so fun. No one expects it when you're a grown-up.
That is true. It's usually a thing reserved for children and mental institutions. So there's that.
Oh, that's my sweet spot.
Right in between those 2 things.
Right in between the 2. But yeah, to go back to my point, they have to be equally likable. And that's where I struggle, because I know who I want to win. Because I've also used them both as plot devices now. So for the plot, one of them has to win. So now I'm like, dang it. This is another thing so I said I was going to have you consult on my magic system when you read that book. I think I also need you to consult on how I can make one of these characters more appealing. You'll know when you read it which one is the least appealing, because I haven't written him super appealingly, because I'm like, he's not gonna win. So
why make people fall in love with him if I'm just going to not pick him?
Exactly. I it's hard too, because I'm trying to do that, my favorite love triangle thing, which is where it's like the bad boy and the good boy. But the thing is, I'm probably going to surprise you with this one.
Okay.
Like, it's not, I don't want to give anything away because I think this book will be published, but basically all is not quite as it seems, but also it is. So you'll see when you read it, but basically I want to do the thing where one of them comes across as a bad boy, but right now they're both coming across as like really good people.
Okay.
But I want them to both, I want my main character to believe both of them, that both of them are good people. I don't want my main character to know, because I think then that'll influence which one she likes more and which one she has chemistry with more. But the thing is, I know which one is like actually a good person.
Right.
So that's where I'm having a really hard time. So you can help me out with that. You guys, reach out to your writer friends for help with stuff like that, because I really need help, but I'm really committed to this love triangle.
Yes, I can get with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so also a random thought. This is a thought that has recently occurred to me, and I was watching a Netflix show that told me this, and now I cannot remember for the life of me which one it was. I know that if you're big on love triangles, this is going to seem like no one would like this, but just once, I would also like both members of the love, so like the two boys in the love triangle or two girls or whatever, to both say, I like this other person as a friend too much to compete with them. Why don't we both step back and then bring in a totally new third person? You know, I read
that recently.
Did you? I wish this would be done more often too. This is what I mean. I think we need variety with love triangles.
Oh my God. You have to finish the Sentinels of New Orleans.
Okay. I think I don't want to, I had a thought. I don't want to give anything away. I don't think it is. Throne of Glass does this a little bit. So
I don't remember it well enough.
Okay. Hopefully you'll forget this anyway.
I'll totally forget.
Let me tell you everything that happens. No,
I will literally forget it. I read the whole book and I've literally forgotten all of it. I remember that I liked it.
Yeah. But I think we need to gender swap the love triangles. I think we need to do them better. And I think we need to, at some point, have the two members of the love triangle step back and say, I like this person too much to compete with them. I'm going to do like the honorable thing and step away. But then like both of them do that. So it's not like someone wins off of honor. Does that make sense?
I just thought about the book that does this. And I can't say for sure because I haven't read the rest of the series yet, but I have, spoilers for The Threat Below, the first book in the Baratheus Legacy series by J.S. Latcha. The end of the book, that is exactly what happens. Like they were kind of enemies to begin with, and then they kind of become friends, and then they both kind of like they become friends over here, and they're like, yay, bye.
We're good on our own.
So I don't know if someone else comes up later. I would assume someone has to, if she's gonna have a romantic interest of some kind. But
because it just feels like if you've had two characters in the context of a love triangle, it's almost impossible to move past whichever one is not chosen and come to like them. Like if you want one to win, and whether or not they do, it's really hard to eventually come around to liking the one that you didn't like originally, because they are so in the context of that love triangle. But if neither of them wins, then it's not like one of them stole her from the other one. Like she picked the wrong one, or she picked the one you like. So now you're just like, boom, take that to the other guy.
Well, they can both remain equally prominent to the plot if neither of them win. But if one of them wins, one of them has to start taking a back seat, which is hard, because if you've written them correctly, they both play a part in the plot. So you're like, well, now I've lost a really important plot device. I guess unless that's part of your plot, is like interdimensional, not interdimensional, good Lord, interpersonal drama.
Interdimensional drama. I like that better.
I like that better too. The interpersonal drama. I don't enjoy, because I don't write contemporary typically, is why for me, interpersonal drama, I almost did it again. For me, I almost said intergalactic that time.
Anything but interpersonal.
Anything but interpersonal, because I would sooner write interdimensional intergalactic drama than interpersonal drama, like as a plot device. But that is like, I mean, I'll do it here and there, but like as a primary repetitive plot device, that's more of like a contemporary fiction thing to do. So maybe if you're writing contemporary fiction, that's actually exactly what you want. But you and I don't write that. In fact, we don't really write romances at all. So also if you write a romance, maybe that's what you want. But we don't write romance heavy. Like we write fantasy or science fiction or action or whatever it is with a hint of romance.
Right. With the romantic subplot.
With a romantic subplot, which we have another episode on, which you guys could go listen to. So for us, that it would be removing a plot device to it is to make one love triangle character win or not.
Yeah. And I think it's
unless they become a different role entirely, like one becomes the villain.
They were secretly the bad guy all along.
Exactly.
I do love that. I do love
exactly.
That. I think it's kind of a cop out to kill them off. Kill off the one that they're not chosen.
It is a cop out, but you could do it.
It could work. I'm like Hunger Games. You said you didn't finish.
I don't care. You can spoil it.
Okay. Well, she picks PETA.
Well, I know that.
Mostly because spoilers for Hunger Games. Gail like accidentally, in a really distant way that doesn't make any real sense, is somewhat complicit in her sister's death, and so she can't forgive him for it. And I'm like, that doesn't even make any sense. He's not responsible for that. So I was like, that felt like a cop out. She could have picked PETA because PETA was the better option for her, which I still think is true.
Yeah.
So I don't like cop outs like that. If you're going to give, because I do think Gail and PETA as characters are both very equally valuable. I don't think they're equally valuable in the love triangle, but as characters, yes. And so I feel like that was somewhat of a cop out to make one the obvious winner.
Yeah.
As opposed to everything else I love in the Hunger Games. I don't think that was done super well, and I don't think I'm alone in this.
No, I think that's what lost my interest pretty early on in the Hunger Games, was because I am such a love triangle fan. I just felt like it was so not a competition from the start that I was like, that's not compelling to me. But other than that, I really did like the Hunger Games. I only stopped reading it because somebody lied to me about how the series ended, and I said I didn't want to read it. Yeah.
Oh no, what did they say happened?
Well, they said they didn't really lie. They just like gave me an inaccurate idea. They said that PETA got amnesia and forgot everything. Oh, and as we know, that is unforgivable to me. For somebody with a bad memory, it's so hypocritical of me to say this, but that is unforgivable.
No, that's why you don't like it. That's exactly because it reminds you of you, and you're like, why are you bringing up my trauma?
Exactly. I'm like, those are my flaws. Thank you very much. No, it's because it erases all of the story that happened. To me, it devalues everything that like the characters, and therefore I with the characters have been through thus far. So that's why I hate it. So somebody said that that's how it ended, and so I was like, well, I will not finish reading the series. Now I could go back and finish it because I really did enjoy it, except for that it was just a one-sided love not one-sided. Yeah. It was just like a very
two-sided triangle.
It was a two-sided love triangle. It was just so off balance. It was like, what's the one with the is it isosceles triangle? One of the sides of the triangle was much shorter than the others. Yeah,
I think it's isosceles. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at my geometry knowledge coming back to me. I'm probably wrong.
I think you're right. Those are the three: acute, isosceles,
equilateral, isosceles. Yeah, isosceles.
Yeah,
it's isosceles. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No isosceles love triangles, you guys. They're like, we're all
equilateral.
Writers. They're like, listen, we failed geometry.
They're like, can you give us a graph? No,
because we can't draw one. We're going in theory here. I don't.
Yeah.
We took you, and that's how we met, was in a special math class for humanities and art majors because they knew we wouldn't pass a normal one.
Yep.
And they were right.
I think about the 3 doors with the goats behind them once a day. Do you remember that? It's the mathematical probability thing.
I remember it vaguely because it inspired me to make a goat reindeer drawing.
That's right.
Ash, for a teacher.
Let me remind you of something that you did in the past that maybe you don't remember. So the whole we're going to teach you math on this podcast too. I promise it'll be fun and very brief.
Oh my God, I'm so scared right now.
It's this mathematical probability thing that if you have 3 doors and behind 2 of the doors, there's a goat behind each door. And then there's treasure behind the 3rd door. You don't know which one is which. So you're trying to find the treasure. If you pick a door,
what if then they say are the treasure?
Okay, I'm getting there. So there, you want to get the treasure. And so you pick a door and then someone says, great, I'm going to open one of the remaining doors with a goat. And then you can either choose to stay with that door or pick the other door. Most people will stick with their door, but you shouldn't. You should always go with the door you didn't originally pick because your chances of picking the right one were only 33% originally. and that doesn't change just because you now know where one of the goats is. So you now have a 50% chance, and you should pick the other door. Anyway, something like that. And we were supposed to do a couple experiments of this, and you kept purposefully picking the door that you thought the goat was behind. and the teacher came up and he's like, no, so you're supposed to try to pick the other door to prove that you want that you get the treasure. And you're like, right, but I want the goat. And like, Ash, okay, pretend there's one goat and two things of treasure. You're trying to find the goat.
I have no memory of that at all, but it does sound like me.
It was absolutely you.
That is so funny.
Anyway, that was your math lesson for the day.
It made as little sense to me now as it made then. But I got to the same conclusion apparently, which is that I'm like, the goat is the treasure.
You're very consistent. Your memory may be bad, but you are the same person then and now.
I have not changed. No, I have not changed at all. Wow. Yeah.
Do you like hearing stories about yourself?
I do. I do, because it's like hearing a story about a stranger. Like, honestly, it's not narcissistic because I genuinely don't remember. So I'm like, yeah, tell me a story about that girl you knew in college. I'm like, I think I'd like her.
Yeah. We would be friends. We might even be the same person.
Maybe like twins or something. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
That is so funny. No memory of that, but
yep.
I'm so
bring it back around.
You can remember things for me.
I know. I can tell you about your whole life. I'm trying to think of a way to be like, all right, we have two goats and a love triangle with a treasure chest to bring it back around. But
you can pick your love interest is behind one of these two doors.
This is what it is. There's treasure behind this door and there's a goat behind this door. And I want the love interest that is good and pure and kind. So I want the treasure, and Ash wants the bad boy. So she's going to go for the goat.
That's rude. That's rude to call the bad boy the goat. What if the bad boy is the treasure? You just have to look inside.
Goat stands for greatest of all time. So
there we go. I'm going to tell Hobby he's a goat. I'm going to be like, baby, I'm so glad I picked the door with the goat behind it. And he's going to be like, what the actual hell?
Although he's very up on lingo, it seems like, so he might know what you mean.
He is. He knows. He's actually explained to me what goat means a few times because I keep forgetting about it. Not like total loss of memory like that story, but like I just keep forgetting that we've had that conversation because I don't use goat. But yes, he's so up on the lingo. He totally knows what the kids are saying at any point in time. And I'm like, dude, I'm like 6 years younger than you. I should know. You need to
take notes because you do want to write for young adults and new adults. So you got to.
Yeah. What's that thing that people are talking about on the TikTok? They're saying stuff like it's a no bones day.
I know. Okay. I have figured out through context.
It's something about a dog, right?
It's a pug. And
it's a dog.
I understand that no bones day means I don't want to do anything. I'm lazy. And I understand that a bones day means getting stuff done, but I don't know why.
I've never somehow put that together. I knew what a no bones day was, but I was like, oh, of course a bones day would be the opposite.
Pugs have bones on all days. What does this mean?
I think it's does the pug not stand up some days? It doesn't want to stand up.
Well, what's wrong with it?
I don't know. I'm concerned for the pug.
I assume it's an original video. Like on TikTok with a pug.
It probably is.
But I have not seen it. I've just seen references like 70 degrees removed from this original video.
I saw this really funny other TikTok that was referencing it that said how to like be a therapist for a Gen Zer, and it said, hey bestie, so I know you want to have a no bones day or something, and then it was just something like, well, if you take your medication it's going to be a lot easier to have like a bones day or something, and I was like, what is this other language?
I understand why old people are confused. We are confusing.
Was our lingo, this is totally off topic, but I have to know, like when we were like the age that Gen Zers are, was our lingo that confusing? Because I feel like it's getting so confusing.
I know. I feel like now it's like memes upon memes upon references, so you can't figure out from context.
No, it's exactly. You can't figure out from context. Yeah. And everything's like, sometimes it's not, we've gone from not only like just basic nouns out of place to like sounds. Like people, what's that one? They go, she. What is that? What is that? I don't even know how to use it in context. And they point to their arms sometimes. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I don't know. I've never seen that one. That's terrifying.
Hobby does it sometimes. And I'm like, I genuinely don't understand. Is this a celebratory thing? Is this like,
is this bad?
What am I missing? What is this reference to?
my
I don't
gosh.
know. It's like the yeet. Yeet was
Yeah.
where things got really confusing for me. And
And
from
now
then on,
Yeet
I've just
reminds me of Don Quixote because of you.
that man
Yeeted
got yeeted by a
it.
windmill.
Yeah,
He did though.
he did.
That was the most like in thing that we've ever said. The most like in with the Gen Zers. Do we have any Gen Z listeners? Can you please explain to
Yeah.
me what she means and why you point to your arm when
Yeah.
you say
Explain
it
to us.
sometimes? I think
Where
he
is
said
the
that,
original
or is
No
that a
Bones
different
Pug
thing?
video?
Yeah, what's the original?
Yeah.
Where did
I
Bestie start? I learned it from Kendall. Because Kendall
And
is also up with all the lingo.
she is.
Yeah.
And also, how are we supposed to write some of this into books? / should we?
I'm gonna say no, we
Because-
shouldn't.
I know, because it changes, but also, how do you even make onomatopoeias on the page? You know what I mean? It's so hard.
Quote SHEEEEEEE end quote, points at her arm. And you're like, interesting.
They will absolutely
Interesting.
understand as long as they are under 20 years old.
Am I doing it wrong?
I don't know.
Guys, go look at our YouTube channel so you can watch this moment of the episode so
Mhm.
that you can tell me. It's about at the 1 hour mark. You can see me do
Mhm.
it. I'm also pointing with my other hand. I don't think that's right.
I don't understand it.
Well, that had nothing to do with love triangles.
No,
but,
it did not.
It's okay.
Let's come back around to love triangles. Anything else to say about them?
They're fun, but do them right and make them as important at the end as they are at the beginning. So don't make them more important than they start out. Don't make them less important than they start out.
Okay, here's a question. Do you think it's a spoiler to tell people there's a love triangle in a book?
No, I think
No?
I think people expect it. It's like saying that in Serpent and Dove, there's the forced marriage trope. You're
Okay.
like, okay,
Like
awesome.
forced marriage, I see, because I assume forced marriage is pretty much from the beginning. But I always feel like saying that a book is friends to lovers or enemies to lovers is spoilers. Because
is
now I know that
spoilers.
it's going there.
I think that that's way more spoilery than love triangle is.
Yeah.
Because
maybe.
love triangle doesn't tell you who wins in the love triangle. It just tells you
Yeah.
that a love triangle exists somewhere in this book. So I don't think that's spoilery. Enemies to lovers and friends to lovers is totally spoilery.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just depends who you're marketing to at that point. Like, who are you talking to? Because some people will pick up a book specifically because they know it's enemies to lovers. So
Right. See, I like to be surprised by that. I like anything but love triangles. So if I hear there's a love triangle, I usually
You
won't read it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. Like, I'll read yours. And if a lot of people are talking about it, I'll be like, okay, I guess I'll try it. But generally they just stress me out too much and not in like a fun death way.
Wait, what?
Like people dying stresses me out, but I like it on a literary level.
Oh my God. Okay. I was like, what the hell are you saying right now?
Anyway, but
Moving
enemies
on.
to lovers, friends to lovers, slow burn, fast burn. I like all of that. So I don't like to know which one it's going to be before I go in.
I
don't know.
I just don't care. I don't care to know. I mean, because I do like all of them. I don't think there's any I don't like.
Yeah.
Friends to lovers I actually find one of the most boring because often they're just kind of boring because they become predictable. But I'll still read them. I don't care. So to me, it doesn't matter. But I know like enemies to lovers on Book Talk is like a really popular hashtag because some people are looking specifically for books in which there is an enemies to lovers plot.
Yeah.
And that's what they like to see.
A lot of the indie authors are saying like my book's an enemies to lovers. I'm like, but
now you've given it away.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've described my books like that. I probably have before because you want to catch those people because those are your market audience. So from a marketing context, you kind of have to sacrifice a little bit. I don't think it gives away a ton. Well, that's also where how prominent is it in the plot? If it is a romance fantasy, for example, and it's enemies to lovers, then maybe it's okay to say it's enemies to lovers.
Yeah, you gotta market that. Yeah.
Because you want people to know this is a romantic book. So enemies to lovers implies romance. But if that's not like the primary thing, then maybe if romance isn't a primary part of the plot, then I would say maybe don't describe it as that. It's hard because marketing, but because you might still want to for marketing reasons. But for the most part, I would say avoid it unless you are a romance book.
Yeah. And I just wish that people would do this with love triangles instead. But I feel like they always try to sneak the love triangle in. And then I'm always like, but I was really enjoying this. And now I'm stressed. There should be like, okay, this is my opinion. I think we should have ratings on books like TV shows and movies do, where they say like the little S is if there's sex, and is it like a D if there's bad language or something like that?
Oh, I
where
agree
like
with
they
you.
warn you ahead of time. I think we should do this, but for certain kinds of non-spoilery tropes. Also maybe for that stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to know if there's a love triangle. Because I need to mentally prepare for
Just
that.
a little triangle on the cover.
Yeah,
And you're
exactly.
like, got it. Not gonna
I
read
want
it.
to know if there's romance in general, even if it's, maybe strong or not strong. I don't know how
I feel
controversial
like
this opinion
romance is often hinted at, even when it's a subplot. It's usually hinted
It's
at in like the
true.
summary or something.
It's true.
I think love triangles are usually hinted at too, because they'll usually mention like two
boys.
potential love interests. Exactly. It's usually two boys. And you're like, love triangle potentially.
I know. But okay, so if you read the back cover of The Darkest Minds, both Liam and Clancy are mentioned. Clancy's not by name, but they're both mentioned.
Mhm.
And it seems like it would be a love triangle based on the way it's written, but it's not. So, I mean, it's so hard to gauge sometimes.
Yeah. It almost could qualify in the sense that for a little while you think it might be.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because I still like that too. I get a kick out of that too. When you're like, it's a love triangle. Just kidding. No, it's not. But I enjoy it in that moment where we get to go on the really fun love triangle ride.
Yeah, but without any of the consequences.
But without any of the consequences, because you're like, haha, bait and switch. It's not really a love triangle.
Yeah.
That was exciting too, because I got to be like potential bad boy. But then I was like, oh, he pops his collar on his polo shirt. What a bad boy. God, I hate polo shirts. When Javi and we met on Match, so judge us as you will. He was overseas at the time, and I worked in an all-female preschool. So,
I mean, how else were they going to meet?
Literally no other way to meet anybody. But one of his pictures was he was wearing an orange polo shirt, and I was almost like, ooh.
Oh my gosh. I went to a charter school from second grade until I graduated from high school.
You had to wear polos.
We had it wasn't a uniform. It was a very strict dress code, and it was polo shirt and khaki, black or navy pants or skirts. And I essentially wore a polo every day of my life for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so done with this. I have not worn a polo since.
Yeah.
Unless it's been for work, which I have to do every once in a while.
Yeah, I have occasionally worn a polo for work. Actually, I worked for a charter school briefly, and I had to sometimes for like school events wear a polo shirt. But that was it. That was literally it. Right. I don't know. I don't like it. They're very preppy. I just don't like polo shirts. So as soon as Clancy came out with it popped collar polo shirt, I was like, my guy.
Oh my gosh, no.
No, I'm like, you are not even a little bit as cool as you think you are.
Fancy.
I love it.
A good character who I love to hate.
God, he's creepy at the end. Yes. Well, do you have anything else to say about love triangles?
No, I think that was it. I used to think that love triangles were just bad writing, but I do think they can be done well. I would like to see more variety in them.
I agree.
That's my main point, I guess.
I agree.
I don't think I would ever write one because I just can't enjoy them on the level that you have to be able to enjoy your own writing.
Yeah.
But which, by the way, is also a tip. You should always enjoy the things that you're writing about. Don't write to please people that you think, because there are people like Ash who like love triangles, and there are people like me who don't like love triangles. Yeah. And you cannot cater to both of us. So cater to what you enjoy.
Exactly. There will always be someone who likes what you like also. Like you're never truly alone in your taste, I think, in books. I think you can always find someone else who also likes what you like. And there's like so many romance tropes. So many. So chances are the one that you like, a lot of people also like. Sure. Plus, I think you can kind of cross some of them too. So like some are enemies to lovers and a love triangle. Like you can mix and match.
There you go.
So that's fun. And then maybe you catch a couple different groups of people all up in one. So that's fun. Is that it we got on love triangles?
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay, cool. Well, I know we just talked about this ourselves because we just recorded, but do you want to give your listeners a NaNoWriMo update or what your hopes are maybe for NaNoWriMo at this
set
point?
a goal for myself. At this point, I'm trying not to be too lofty. My general goal is just to get back into writing the project I said I was going to write. I do have
you
an
told
outline.
us about this book at all?
I think so. Yeah. It's my Lord of the Flies remix.
Yes.
Yeah. And I am so excited. I do think, just the way I've been thinking over the past hour or so, I think maybe what's blocking me is because I have been in the same book series and universe for so long. I know those characters so well. I probably just need to do a character study on my main characters so that I feel like I'm getting to know them better in this new project, because it's very hard to write. I'm noticing, and this is how I tend to start, and then I have to change it. So I tend to write as though every character is the same person. They all tend to have the same voice at the start, and then I have to go back in and give them personality, which is not an efficient way to do it. So I'm thinking if I can just get their characters down and more unique and individual from the start, maybe that would make writing easier, because then the decisions they'll make will be more natural instead of me trying to slog through a plot.
My characters usually have so much personality on their own from the outset, but their goals are not very well defined, which is my big problem. Like, I need to set out their goals, expectations, hopes, dreams, fears from the start. But their personalities are usually very apparent right away.
Yeah, we have the opposite issues. Like I said, I'm a world building person, so I'm very good at that. I'm good at knowing where I want to take the plot in terms of revealing the world and all that kind of stuff, but characters more my struggle. And I think I can do it. It's just not the natural thing, whereas you're kind of the opposite.
I'm kind of the opposite. I've characters and dialogue and personality, all that kind of stuff comes to me naturally, where I'm like, wait, what's plot? What about the plot?
What's happening? Where are we?
Wait, is there a setting? Are they not just like,
oh gosh, where are they?
Oh God, I don't know.
Are we in a vacuum?
Exactly. Oh well. I'm working on it, you guys. For my NaNoWriMo,
process.
My goals for this NaNoWriMo have changed drastically from week to week, because
my goal at like October 30th versus November 1st versus now, so different.
So different. And that's okay. I really think the key to NaNoWriMo is just that you're making your writing a priority in some way. So for me this month, that means even with all of the crazy many other things I have going on this month, to the point where I don't have a spare hour to myself and for the rest of this week until I leave for my anniversary. And I'm not going to work on my anniversary, because not even writing, because that's literally not what it's for.
Right.
I think when I get back is when I'm just going to focus on, I don't even know if I'm going to get to writing. I hope I do, but my goal now is to get a lot of character study work done on my characters and to hopefully get an outline together, just like a base outline. Because then I think going forward, when I have time to write, I'll be able to just sit down and start writing. I won't have to think through some of the basic things, because it'll already be thought about. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at, which I still feel like if I get a character study done on even just my main characters and a bit of an outline, then that'll be a lot of progress. My cat, I'm sorry, I don't know what she's doing. Jennifer, get down. Get out.
Get away.
I love you, but God, you guys. And that wasn't even Flora that time. Flora's like,
I know,
blinking. It's like wondering who's getting yelled at because it's not her. Yeah. Anyways, that's where I'm at with NaNoWriMo. So no shame. Wherever you guys are at, let us know where you guys are at also.
Yeah.
You can reach out on social media at the Scriptorian Society. We're on Instagram and on TikTok. TikTok's got funny videos. Instagram's got funny videos, writing tips, lots of stuff. Or you can join our free writing group on Patreon. It is free to join. So we can all talk about
leech in the background.
We can all talk about our writing goals there, your NaNoWriMo goals, maybe the results of your NaNoWriMo. And we can all help each other out, which is great. We can talk love triangles or not. You and I can talk love triangles, listener. And Karissa will judge us silently.
Exactly. As I was meant to do.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's everything. So until next week, everybody, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page.
Goodbye.
Bye.